Women's participation in politics and decision-making is a fundamental prerequisite for gender equality, women empowerment, and sustainable development. The 2018 general elections in Zimbabwe was a historic period in which we had 4 female presidential candidates, 53% of the registered voters being women, and more women ran for both parliamentary and local government level positions. Political power has, however, remained largely beyond the reach of many women, despite the elaborate constitutional provisions on gender equality, the right of women and men to participate equally in political and public life enshrined in several international human rights instruments and treaties. Watch and listen as different women share their experiences.
Our prayer is that the time has come that government respects that women constitute 52% of the population of this country. And it does not make sense that since we constitute 52%, we are not given the opportunity to represent women in the corridors of power.
We have research which points us out that when you have more women decision making, they make smart decisions. They ensure that, for example, national budgets are allocated to social sectors such as education and health.
If us as ladies, we rise up, we can make the world a better place and a safer place for other generations to come.
And women have to aspire to break that glass ceiling, to get in there, to take their place, their rightful place.
It is quite critical that women take part in political processes and in governance processes within a country, because this is critical to development. We cannot have development and progress without the participation of half of the population within a country. But also within our international, regional and national frameworks, there's been a commitment to increase women's representation in all political processes within parliament, and also within our commitment as a country in terms of our SDG 5 and SDG 16 on achieving gender equality within the country. It becomes imperative that women take part. But also, if as a country would like to achieve all the sustainable development goals, there is a linkage also within the participation of the other half of the population within that space. And we find that there are various strategies that can be employed to support women's political participation within the country. We found that research has been quite critical in showing where the gaps are and what some of the programming actions that need to be taken are as far as women's participation is concerned. But we've seen that also building as supporting women as candidates is also another important and critical action that needs to be taken. But what I also find quite critical is the issue of transforming gender norms so that women are perceived as legitimate leaders within a country. Because we find that within society, sometimes and culturally, women are seen as child rearers, and that their place is seen as being best placed within the home. But we need to transform such gender norms to build awareness that women can be capable leaders. And we've seen that through some of our leaders within the country who have performed really well.
2018 elections. They were not easy, to be honest. Those elections were like the most difficult election out. I even, contested in elections in 2013 for the proportional representation for my district, but still they were not as hard as these ones, because then this time I was going for a constituency. And that constituency, there was a man who was there who was the sitting MP for that constituency, and I had to make up my mind to go and contest for that constituency. And eventually there were 7 of us and 6 of them were men, and I was the only woman. And I've grown up in Mashingo, in rural Gutu. I've never been a person who can be considered to be very privileged. I have a very humble background, so I didn't have a lot of money to, to splash for the elections, even though I felt that I had the capacity to represent these people better. And then the other men who were also interested in that constituency, they started to feel a bit intimidated. So then they started this campaign of labeling. You know how some men sometimes do, they would then say to you, they would then start saying, no, one of them was even going around there saying, you don't know Simbane guy. She's always wearing miniskirts. I know her when she was growing up. She's always wearing miniskirts. Don't buy into this that she's trying to say that she's a very decent person. She's not even decent. They were talking about family stuff. They were talking that even murume wacho So my husband was like, I was lucky enough because my husband is like one of those people who really believe in me, and he would say, I don't even pay attention to those. We forged ahead, but I can honestly say I had to work a lot more harder than them, because I then had to go into that constituency like a year before them. They would just come and intimidate, go back, just come and intimidate, and then they go back. And then towards the primary elections then, it was really hectic. They had cars. I was contesting against the men who had cars. One of them actually had a fleet of 8 cars. I'm not even talking of small cars. I'm talking of V8 cars, those types that have wheels at the back. I'm talking about super cabs. I'm talking about twin cabs. And then he had those guys wearing suits and spectacles, and those that would, when he walks out of the car, they're like banging doors, and then they flank him, and then he's going to address the people. But you see, the one advantage that I had was I knew that, I had to work with women. And I knew that women, you would never find them in the townships. So I had to go to their villages, and then I would meet them under a tree, and then we would talk. And I was never in a hurry. I would just sit there with them, and then we would talk about anything. So for me, it was not even the kind of campaign where I would be sloganeering, really. It was just that kind of campaign where I would just go and sit with the women under the shade, and then we'd just start talking. I never had to do that kind of campaign where I had to buy beer for people or spend a night at a bottle store trying to convince the youths. No, I never did that. I also knew that, for women, you have different generations. You also have the young women. They also have their own needs. So we would also talk about the needs of the young women, and also talk about the needs for the elder generation of women. So I had 5 people from each village, from the women. So those were my campaign teams. So they would just go around talking to the other women, giving out pamphlets, and then explaining that we need to vote for a woman. And for this particular constituency, it was something that we needed to do that way, to go, to go home by home, door to door, to explain the idea of voting for women. Because this was the first time that this particular constituency was going to vote for a woman. Since independence, there have been how many now? I think I'm the 9th member of parliament, and the previous 8 were all men. There was never a time when a woman was voted for in Good North constituency. So I'm actually the first one. So they were going around trying to explain that this time we need to change. We need to vote for a woman, because these constituents need, a kind of woman type of development. How it is to move from one village to another. It was so tiresome. It took me a lot of time. It was like I was going to work in that constituency, because I would wake up at 6, come back at 10 every day. I would go to the constituency every day. I was in the constituency. There was never a time. And then even the president was like, he's always saying it. He was like, so you group of men, the whole 7 of you, you have written a petition for this short one. So. So you have actually, you actually sat down together and came up with this very fancy petition just for this girl, this small girl. So they will say, yeah, no, don't underestimate your president. She's very dangerous. She cheated the elections.
I contested in the just ended elections. I ran for the seat in the parliament from Koba constituency. Well, my experiences were, well, if I look back at the campaigning period, how I started, and even the period after the elections, I think I do not regret taking part in the elections, and I'm going to give it a shot again in 2023. If I do not make it, I'll still try again in 2028. I believe that one day I'm going to make it. The journey was an interesting one, but it wasn't easy. You know, society does not really appreciate women in politics. You are labeled with different names. I remember one person that I associated with, who is also a woman, said to me, well, all women in politics are known to be prostitutes. They are known to be madzimai emadara in politics, you know. So she really argued with me and said, that's a dirty game. Why are you getting into it? The society was not really very entertaining, and I remember at church, my pastors were very supportive. But you would see other women would be like, why are you wasting your time? And you would always get some of these comments from other women, especially other women. I'm grateful for my husband. He has always been supportive from the onset. He just said, well, if this is what you want, go for it. So financially, he supported me. Emotionally, he was always there for me, and he gave me all the support that I needed. And well, it wasn't really okay with my in-laws. They felt that you know, politics for women is way too dangerous. I think they were afraid of losing me. So I really had a few experiences, like my mom being intimidated, some of the candidates that were running under me as councillors being intimidated as well. But we got over it, and we managed to sail through the campaign period. Some of the challenges that I faced were financial challenges. We really tried to invest everything that we could as a family in the campaign process. I managed to put up a billboard, and people would really ask me, where are you getting the funds? But I believe if you really love something, you can afford to invest anything into it. So
you find that pakukontesta kwatakaita pama primary elections vechidzimai tanga tiri 3 atofu varume 10. Saka mukukontesta tese tiri madzimai pane pataimbotaurira nawo kuti no, topinda tese here kana kuti tosarudza munhu wani. But you find wosa madzimai pane nguva yewo yatisingadi kuti umwe mudzimai aende pamusoro poumwe. Tinodzikisirana. Ndorimwe dambudziko. Nokuti munhu wese anenge achida uye kushorana kuti uyu ungatitira chii uyu mwana wanhingi uyu. Ndokuona kuti ndo chimiro chiripo, ndikati fine, beta kungopinda tese pai muground, but anenge abuda, let's support here samadzimai. So zvakaitika ndezvekuti pama primary taingopesanawo, umwe achindidana uya kuno mbosvikawo kwangu indimbouya kuti campaign tese. Saka ndo patakazoenda pama primary ndokuona kuti ini ndabudirira. Mukubudirira kwandakaita, we communicated namadzimai akakundikana. Tikati no, ngatichitingoshanda tese, as women we are going to stand as women. Tomirira vamwe vakadzi tivewo ne voice inosvikawo kupi kumusoro.
Ndakakwidzwawo as an independent candidate semudzimai womuwadi medu. Ndakakundwa nemurume yanga ndikakwidzana naye anga ari kuZANU PF. Chakanyanya kuti andikunde pakuona kwandikaita ini ndechekuti aishandisa mashoko mamwe ekudzikisira kuvakadzi achiti munotungamirirwa sei nevanhu vechihure. Zvekare ipapo pacho zvapo haana kunyanyowana mavhotsi nokuti vamwe vanga vakumushora, asi kuti
chakazoita kuti anyatsondidarika ndechekuti anga akuenda muvanhu achivapa mari vachitenga doro, kunyanya doro iroro. Saka vanhu vaiti kana vazodhakwa manje ndo vaizonyatsochifamba vaine simba nekudhakwa kuyoko vachishoropodza inini, vachinokonvinza zvekare madzimai nemhuri, vachindishoropodza kusvika ndazokundwa. Chimwe chakandikundisa zvekare ndechekuti vaindida vacho ivavo vakabva vangomakwa zvezvezvo kuti vaiiswa fiye vachinzi zvikangopera izvozvizvi tichakudzingai muminda mamugere nekuti ivhu rakauya neZANU-PF. Ende pamukagara pese chese chakakusunungura ingava uri gweja yakaintroducwa neZANU-PF. Ndakatanga ndiri kuZANU-PF kwacho, but kune corruption yakazongoitikawo ikokoko, kuti mari yangu ndakatoibhadharirawo mahari aibhadhara vanhu ikoko. Saka ndipo vakabva vangondibvisa. Saka ndipo ndikazoti regai ndikondeste zvangu ndiri kuindependent ikoko. Secretary waSABOK, but havachandishedza mumameetings nezvimwe zvese zvataita, plus wo kana pamainputs avaimbondipawo mafertilizer nembeu havachatondipa. Ndongoita zvongono, handichatoziva kuti pamwe vakatoisawo umwe munhu nekuda kwechikonzero chokuti ndakaita independent candidate here. Handina hangu kuita fall down, kuda kuita give up handina. Kunyange zvakaoma, kuoma ndozviziva kuti zvakatongooma ende zvakaoma nenzira dzakawandisisa, but ndaona kuti hazvingandikonese shuwiro dzangu kana kukanda mapfumo pasi nekuda kwaizvozvo handitombo.
Ini ndinoitwa neTsai Mapenzi. Ndakakontesta ndiri Mutasa Central. Mutasa Central mamakaoma pakukontesta kwacho nekuti vanhu vandaikontesta navo vanga vatori vanhu vanga vari vanhu vane zvinhu zvavo. Isusu tatiri kutanga semadzimai takati tisina maresources akakwana. Saka pakushaya kwetakaita maresources, madzimai akatanga kunitarisira pasi kuti haungakwanisi kunge uchidini uchikontesta uchibudirira. Vanhu vakapiwa zvinhu, especially kuno kumamisha, vakapiwa zvinhu vanhu vanokufarira. Wesi kana iri nguva yayo yekuti maelection ukauya nema-t-shirts, wouya nezvibage, wouya nemafertilizer, hamunonobuda. But nenyaya yekuti isusu takati tisinawo chinyi izvozvo, ndakangozowana hangu mavhoti mashoma.
Asi zvatakasangana nazvo mukati meward 3 zvaive zvakaoma pekutanga. Semunhu anga ari kuopposition party, vashoma vazhinji vacho ndeve ruling party. Saka kwaityisa kufamba semunhukadzi usina chauinacho, usina motokari, tichita ma-door to door campaigns. Zvoti vaitosvika pamwe pamba uchitosvika vachitovhara ma-door kuti aiwa tidi ma-opposition party. Asi handina kumira, takaramba tichifamba chete, tichitaura nevanhu, vamwe vachititendera, vamwe vachiramba. Hazvina kutipa kudzoka shure, takaramba tichienderera mberi kusvika panguva yekuti taakunovhota. Vazhinji vaita semunhukadzi tokwanisa kukutsigirai, asi kuno kuti tinochidzwa zvokuti kana pakuvhota chaipo munoona togona kutoenda kana nevanhu vakatimiririra. Dzimai echidiki vaitomirirwa paqueue yekupaline rekuvhota. Unopinda neumwe waunenge uinaye kana wasuspectwa kuti iwe unogona kuvhotera munhukadzi kana opposition party. Otonzi ita ndakaremara, umwe wati handigone kunyora. Ndifunga pakazosvika kubvunzwa sabhuku chaiye, zvikanzi mimi baba mumboreani mabvira kungopinda nevanhu vakawanda. Zvikanzi ndiri sabhuku, zvikanzi apa mukumboita nezvezvo, zvikanzi ndiri kuasista ava vasiri kugona kunyora. Zvikanzi vanhu vese ava vari kungoasistwa nemimi, ko vamwe mutati vanhu ava havana here vanhu vanokwanisa kuvabatsira kusvika vatozodzingwa baba ivavai.
2018 election ndakapindawo paparty list yePRC ndichida kupinda paPR proportional representation. So paparty list ndakakwanisa hangu kuenda panumber 1. Chakanyanyondirwadza paelection ya2018 inyaya yekuti semaZimbabweans hatisati taziva kuti munhu mukadzi anokwanisa kuita lead. Ndaifamba mumaconstituency ese ari 18 ndichikambenera mai Mjuru kumaconstituency. Pasuko kwamakunuko waitoona kuti vanhu vachakasara zvakanyanya kuburikidza futi neinformation yavanowana ikoko vanoshandisirwa masabhuku.
I think I suffered from depression 3 times in a space of 7 months because of all that was going through. I was exposed to ageism, that people were telling me that you're too young, you can't do this. I'm 21 years. People were saying, why are you not in school? You know, so you think that you can actually represent us. There was that. There was always the slap of patriarchy that as a woman you can't do this. You can't be doing politics. If you are doing politics, then there was always the patriarchy was it came in so many different forms, but as things were getting on, as the campaigning was going on, I started appreciating it, and I told myself that, you know what, I'm not going to let this hinder me. I was exposed to online bullying, body shaming, a lot of insults, a lot of hate speech, but I soldiered on. I'm now at peace about it. I now speak with peace because I learned from that and I got to overcome that.
Asi ndadaro zvakapawo ruvengo nevamwe vandigere navo. Ndofunga shamwari dzemudhuze dzakatanga kutaramuka. Ndokubva vatanga kutiza, vamwe vaindibvunza munoda kumira mune chii, ungatipei, ungazodiita zvokuti wega unomborwisa hope.
Vanhu vazhinji vakawanikwa nekuchidzirwa kuti makavhotera opposition party uchawanika tichienda kuhondo, ukavhotera MDC uchaona chikudzingai pekugara.
The electoral system itself, it was smooth. There were no problems that I encountered, both with the police, with the ZEC. No, it was smooth sailing. Vaitibatsira pataida rubatsiro, vachitipa advice pataida advice. Saka in as far as the ZEC processes and the police were concerned, everything was okay. This year, fortunately, it was very calm. There was no intimidation. But unfortunately, Madzimayo, they didn't rally behind us. It was only 2 women who were contesting in our constituents. We were about 13, but only out of those 13, 2 were cards. But Madzimai, I don't know why they shan to support Madzimai. I think the issue when we don't trust one another, I don't know.
Ndoitwa Monica Borerwe Madeitin. Saka mukukontesta imomo ndakaona kuti vakadzi tine challenge hombe yekuti even vamwe vakadziwo havadi kusapota vamwe vakadzi. Campaign akudaro papaine name calling iri serious yekuti unoti zvabvepi zvauya sei, so it's like zvinoda kukudzosa kumashure zvakanyanyisa zvokuti unopedzisira wati kuzviregera, because ukazoona wana wachinzwa manzwa akadaro kuti mama wenyu zvakazodai zvikadai, vana havazozvifariri. Asi I want to thank vana vangu vaingondipa that nenge yekuti mama itai, that push yekuti mama itai. Next time kana takupinda muma-elections a2023 tachikumbira kuti zviitwe kuti munhu wemukadzi afile safe kana achida kukwikwidza chigaro. Anototya kupinda nokuda kweizvozvo. Ishu yakatoenda kumapurisa yakazongotambirwa mudenga yandakatorwa ndikada kutorohwa pagedhi apo ndichiurirwa nemotikari ndichivharirwa gedhi ndichitwa sei, zvaizvo kungondityisidzira chete kuti ndiregedze. Saka zvakatongozoitawo kuti unotya kuti uite, but zvazvongozoti unongozoti aiwa let me do it, ndingoona kuti ground rakaita sei kuitira next time kana ndakuda futi kudi kupinda mazviri.
I made the decision very late, very late. It just came as a realization because I had thought Lynette Karenyi, who is a friend, a former boss, a feminist, a very strong political leader. I thought the MDC alliance was going to be choosing Lynette Karenyi because she was interested in this constituency as well to be the MP. So when I realized the politics that happened around it, I decided to stand up and say, we the women of Dangamvura Chikanga, it's high time that we stand up and represent this constituency, because also we have never had a female MP in Dangamvura Chikanga. So this is the reason why I decided to stand up in the race against all odds, which I knew very much that I did not match the resources of the other two people, Mr. Mupfumi and Mr. Mtsiami, who were also in the race. But then it was important to get into the race, feel how it is like to be running for an election, hoping that in the future that experience will help us and we'll be able probably to win the constituency and represent the people of Dangamvura Chikanga.
But vamwe vedu vandai contesta navo ndo vanga vachida kumboti vhundutsira. But ndakamira noti ndaiziva chinangwa changu chandandakatarisa nacho. Vaitombozama zvavo wandai contesta naye aitombozama kunditumira vanhu kuzondiimbira kunditi ndimenda kudii. Saka ndakaramba ndakamira because ndanjiziva chinangwa changu chandaida kuti ndaida kutiwo ndisvitse shuviro yemunhukadzi zvizame kuti zvigadzirise.
Because politics is not an easy game. You just need to have this elephant skin, because some will criticize, some will support you. So I just want to urge these young women out there that they must rise up and also fight for their rights.
There are a lot of young women that have now come up and are talking about what was happening during the primary elections. And one of the things that was happening around the primary elections was the issue of sex as a currency. I know that some of those issues usually are taboo because we are unhappy talking about those issues, so we skate around them.
It was quite difficult because for the party, even never mind for us as women, because they had to make a decision choosing from, I think, the 7 political parties. So one getting in was not easy, but eventually my name was shortlisted. And for me, I knew that I had to work very hard because the way I would get in would be by the number of votes that were voted for the party, for members of parliament in the province. So my strategy to make sure that I would be counted to get in was to support other members of parliament, or candidates rather. So it was challenging in that you need resources to be able to do that, and every candidate felt that if I needed to help all of them, and we had 12 candidates in Bulawayo. But all the same, I did choose a few to work with, and I helped wherever I could. And in respect to what I call a myth, where they say women don't support women, I found that we were very supportive of one another. I'll give a typical example. We had a candidate, Honorable Stella Ndlovu, who was in Luveve. It was her first time contesting, and I actually went forward and helped her strategize so that she would capitalize on the number of votes that she got. We women of the province also came together and gave support. We had a launch where all the women came, where she invited women for her launch, her campaign launch. So I think that if we focus a lot on the negative, you will draw negative. But if you focus and just help one another, I think we can go a very long way.
There were gross abuses of women. The portrayal of women in the media was not as good as we thought. There's a lot of the cyberspace and abuse of social media in terms of denigrating women. We also have got special issues that are very personal, particularly targeting the ZEC chair. We have issues targeting the MDCT president, Madame Coupe. We've got issues surrounding the participation of women, which was not in the best interest of what we have set out in our constitution and our different political parties. So one of the outstanding issues is that we have seen a decline in the representation of women in Parliament, in the Senate, and across the political parties and provincial structures that they have in their own constituencies.
I think 2018 was a mixed masala election from a women's rights perspective and from a women's political participation perspective. It was a good election on one hand because it showed us and it proved unequivocally that the numbers of women who are willing to engage in the political processes and in particular to contest for elections, the appetite amongst the women's constituency is very high. It's the first election that we've had since independence where we've had over 1,400 women actually saying, I am interested in standing for public elected position. And I think that is on its own is something to celebrate.
The history of Zimbabwean election is so violent and it's so manipulative. And I think there's a lot that needs to be done around perspectives of the communities, that a woman is someone who's capable. We are equally the same as men. So I think people should remove that mentality to say women cannot lead us, women cannot do much. They should have a different view. So it's also about socialization. How do we talk about women in public? How does the media report about women? How do we talk about women in schools? Even how do we talk about girls in schools? What does the state say about a woman? So I mean, we have a lot of work to do around dismantling the patriarchal system that we are working with.
That disabled persons are put by themselves to elect senators. So we do not have the opportunity to have much in the community because as women themselves do not have that opportunity. As disabled persons in the community, it becomes worse. We do not have that opportunity of saying any word, and then no one can even listen to us.
That we realize that a lot of women are reluctant to come into the political space because of the experiences that the women who have come into that space before have through the media and other forms of abuse. So we realize that as a commission, one thing we need to look at is to make sure that the political space itself is actually gender sensitive, that the commission should actually go out into the rural areas, have dialogues with women and talk to women and try to convince them that they need to come into the political space. So we feel that at least now it is very clear what we need to do as a commission. We need to ensure that there are amendments to the legislation and to introduce a gender parity legislation. And we are also looking at introducing legislation on sexual harassment because it became also clear that a lot of women are discouraged from coming into the political space or any leadership position for that matter because of sexual harassment. So
when the electoral season is in place, matters become so emotional and people become so selfish that they forget about this gender discussion. We need more engagement, more awareness, particularly with the political players themselves. It is important that we adhere to the Constitution. The Constitution is correct. It is to provide for the correct legal framework, but it is the actions of the political players who pay lip service to gender matters when the election season is around us.
First of all, it's not easy for women to actually become politicians. I commend all women politicians. One, you need to have a thick skin. It's not as easy as you think, and I think it's not a walk in the park. There's a lot that happens in politics. Women they are subject to abuse in many ways, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, violence, and they have to stand the ground. Especially those who are contesting in the constituencies. There are 210 constituencies, because there's PR as well, proportional representation, which comes after the constituencies results have been announced and they benefit from that. So to me, that again, comes about in terms of the leaders in the political parties picking who they believe is best, not on merit. So they also suffer in terms of capacity because there is no criteria from a capacity point of view which says that you must have O levels or a degree. As a result, they are seen wanting in that regard.
I think one of the things that still remains is a bit of healing on the part of some of the women because they experienced difficulties within their own parties. And also the intra-party dialogues. I think they still need to be facilitated because they are, I think, getting are on the way in terms of creating that peace.
The political parties don't have the political will for women to participate freely. Say I have won in the primary elections, then there will come the muscles. This is the minimum, the main. Then the others say, no, you don't have to be like this. Yeah, you have to give this post to the other person.
The number of women that participated, a few only managed to make it to the end and managed to actually being selected as members of parliament, even being councillors. So, which speaks to the issues of the patriarchal system that actually regards men as the people who are actually supposed to lead, and they are the ones who are actually taking up these leadership positions and are actually being the ones being voted by other women.
You are a single person, you are regarded as a prostitute. Hey, just imagine, if you want to do something, they will degrade you, saying she doesn't have a husband, so she's not a suitable candidate. Hey, is it fair in Zimbabwe? We should have fair things, that everyone is equal and we have to have equal opportunities.
When you look at women, I think omama bale problem A1. Bale msebenzi emningi. They are overwhelmed.
There continues to be considerable gender-based inequalities across social, political, and economic spheres. The need to deconstruct social and cultural gender stereotypes to facilitate social transformation remains work in progress. We note the need to go beyond the legislative framework on paper alone to practically stamp discrimination, including that which is perpetrated indirectly through cultural practices that subordinate women to men. We note the replacement of physical with cyber-based battery and sustained hate speech against women. We have received feedback that although there is an increase in female presidential candidates, they were subjected to unfair media and public scrutiny compared with their male counterparts.
Inini 2023 nruda ukwikwidza.